Hi guys, Ian here. Welcome to my channel and to another video in the little series I'm doing on the God names, Archangels and Order of Angels of the Sephirah on the Kabbalistic Tree of Life. And today we are looking at Chesed. So let's just spend just a few moments looking at Chesed to get ourselves into the kind of context before we move on. So Chesed sits at the midpoint on the right hand pillar of the Tree of Life, which is known as the pillar of mildness or the pillar of mercy. And Chesed's title itself is that of mercy. And the character, for me, the character of Chesed is of strength and of power and of giving. It is the first Sephirah where we see actual formation occurring. In Binah we saw the concepts of form, and although we don't actually see physical manifestation until we get to Malkut, like here we are, solid, but in Chesed we see the first subtle forms coming into being, and Chesed is said to be the realm of the ascended masters. For me, Chesed is a wonderful Sephirah. It speaks of the bounteous, gracious, loving kindness of the divine being, of God. When I use the word God, I mean the infinite one. I don't necessarily mean the concept of the Christian God. The source, the first, the infinite and ultimate being. And so, we should hope to see, shouldn't we, the nature of the God name and the Archangel and the Order of Angels reflecting that quality. And the God name for Chesed is El. Now, what's unusual about this is that El is normally attached to something else to give like the character or a characteristic of God, like El Olam, God everlasting, El Shaddai, which is approximately God my sufficiency, and so we don't see that here in Chesed. We just see God, and to me it's like in this Sephirah we're not looking at an aspect of the character of God, we're looking at the heart of God. El, we're looking at right into the core of the divine being, and El, strength, power, giving. The same things to me that I see in Chesed. So for me there is a perfect match there. The nature of the divine being expressed in Chesed, mercy, on the pillar of mildness, on the Tree of Life. Now the Archangel for Chesed is Zadkiel. And the first thing to notice, and I think we may have mentioned this in a previous video, is that there is El in Zadkiel. And there is in all of the names of the Archangels, except for two, Metatron and Sandalphon. We've also mentioned are in some theories and in some schools of thought, these two angels who do not have El in their name were once human beings, Enoch and Ezekiel. Anyway, I digress. Zadkiel then, mercy of God. Zadkiel represents the, if you like, the covenant between God and his creation, that there will always be mercy, there will always be loving kindness, there will always be fatherly, motherly love and protection towards that which has been created. Zadkiel represents the mercy of the divine to everything in existence that he has brought into being. And Zadkiel is also leader of the Hashmalim, which is the order of angels, and the Hashmalim are equated to, in the angelic hierarchy, dominions, in the same way that the Ophanim were related to thrones. Now the Hashmalim, the brilliant ones, are quite interesting. Sorry, I was having a little thought there. It's funny how things occur to you as you go along. And in Christian teachings and in Judaism, whenever God represented himself to humanity, it was in some kind of brilliance, like with Moses, the bush that burned which wasn't consumed, and the presence of God on the top of the Ark of the Covenant, the Shekinah or the Shekinah that would dwell between the bowed wings of the cherubim on the top. So it seems to me that the Hashmalim, the brilliant ones, are a permanent representation of God's presence and involvement and engagement with humanity, because in Kabbalistic teachings the Hashmalim oversee the third of the four worlds of Yetzirah, formation, the place where forms come into being. And right in that place where forms come into being, that's where the Hashmalim, the brilliant ones, that's where they are, that's their domain. Bringing the presence of the divine into the affairs of humankind. And I see them as a kind of a permanent reassurance, a permanent sign of security that the divine will always be interested in our affairs, will always have a heart of love to the creation, but not love perhaps in the way that we think of it. Because people say, I've said it myself, if God is love, and that's what we're saying, aren't we, that the heart of the divine is strength, power, giving, which is love. If God is love, why do such terrible things happen in the world? And my answer to that, to myself, is one, because the love that is God is not love in the way that I understand it necessarily. And also because our lives, our world, it passes in the blink of an eye and it's gone. What seems to us to a lifetime of suffering is a wink of an eye. It comes, it goes, it passes. But we are eternal. We exist forever. Not in this body, not in this form, not in this vessel that knows suffering, but as an eternal spirit that builds an individuality, a soul that becomes a God in its own right, because that's our destiny. And all because there is Chesed, because there is creation, because the heart of the divine being gives life, gives creation, brings into being something where there was no thing. Anyway, I'm drifting again, but I love this Sephirah, and I really enjoyed making this video. So I will be back soon with the next one in the series. So until then, bye for now.